All right. Perfect. We are going to get this party started. I guess we go ahead and let me throw this up on my screen. All right. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Credit Banking Mastermind number 11. We are talking about credit banking and the search for the lost dream. I'm so happy to be with you folks. I've been gone for a few weeks, but now I'm back. All right. Hey, I want to get a shout out to CJ Wallace. Thank you for letting us be here on your Velocity channel. There's a lot of great things going on. CJ Wallace is a great guy, great host. A lot of exciting things, a lot of great content on this channel, learning about velocity banking. Today we're covering credit banking, very similar to velocity banking, actually very similar to mortgage sweep strategies and cash flow banking. It goes by a lot of names, but the important thing is that we want to help you learn this strategy and implement it in your life and change your life. If we could be a rising tide that helps raise all boats, this would be a great boost and a benefit to everybody, because a lot of people are going through some challenging times. I've been driving around and noticed a bit of a ghost town and some empty streets. So, hey, if you're home right now, we're on, you're on. Let's utilize this time to expand our minds and understand the credit banking strategy, because this strategy will help you achieve your dreams. And that's why we're here. Wise Guys and Ties, partnering with CJ Wallace here on the Velocity channel. What do we want to do? We want to empower you to fulfill your God-given purpose, whatever that is. And if we can help you eliminate your debt and set you financially free, you'll be free to do what you were meant to do and not feel like you're stuck in a dead-end job, or you're stuck at a job because it pays the benefits, or you've got to pay all these bills in this debt, or it'll never end. So let's jump right on in. We got a lot to cover, and there's a bit of a format here. So as we get going, I want you to know my name is Joseph Smith. My business partner, Ray Fleming, who is going to be answering all the questions that come in on the YouTube channel. Feel free to ask your questions early, often. This is meant to be a mastermind where we ask questions and we put out there some of our ideas. We want to learn, and we want this to be fun and interactive. Okay. This is a webinar that is happening on my Zoom channel. So we also have people that are a part of the Zoom webinar. So welcome to all of you as well. And I'll be answering all the questions that come in on the Zoom webinar. If at any point you decide, hey, I would like some more information, I'd like to work or get a consultation and work one-on-one with you, you can go ahead and go to wiseguysandties.com. That's our website, and you can fill out any form that's on every page, basically, where you can set up a 30-minute free consult. Or give us a call at 888-524-9273, or email us at bizcredit@wiseguysandties.com. All right, so if you want to participate in the actual mastermind, if you want to be a part of the webinar group where we talk and where we go over all these numbers, all you have to do is go to wiseguysandties.com, right? Let me blow that up on your screen, and you can participate in our Tuesday night webinars that happen at 8 p.m. Central Time. Now, when you do, all you have to do to participate is fill out your first name, your email address, and your phone number. I don't share this information with anybody, and I only contact you if you want me to. So it's that simple. But you do have to check mark those 4 boxes because of the world we live in. We're a very litigious society, and you need to know that these financial strategies have risk involved with them, and you need to be educated, and you need to know what you're doing, and you need to make sure that you're working with competent professionals in your life, especially whenever you make decisions of a financial nature. So we're going to discuss and mastermind on some general concepts here around credit banking as a strategy, but it's really incumbent upon you to do your own due diligence to make sure that these principles work for you. Now, if you'd like to be a part of the case study, because each and every mastermind, different people that participate go ahead and throw in their business credit information. So we're looking at your income, expenses, your available lines of credit, credit balances, interest rates, and then whatever loan you want to pay off and what the term and the start date and the interest rate and the monthly payments. And if you have more information you want to share, that's great. But we leave off all personal information as we go through this because we're not here to talk or gossip or do any of that. But this is a chance to really strategize and look and work with real world numbers on the credit banking strategies and help. You know, the more you work and you participate on this, you'll get better. And if you want this mastermind to kind of strategize around your numbers and get feedback, that's the benefit to you. Now, also, if you ever want to do a private consultation where we go over your numbers, you need to fill out this form. So you would go to wiseguysanties.com/credit-banking and fill out the form. And then you would also fill out all of this information, because it would really do you a disservice if we spent all 30 minutes collecting the information. We'd be done with the call. But if you go ahead and you want to be a part of a 30-minute one-on-one consultation, fill out all of the information, and then we'll be able to really discuss it and go into some detail and give you some guidance on ways that you can strategize and learn more and implement these strategies. All right, with that being said, if you don't already know, my name is Joseph Smith. If I haven't already said, I'm one of the Wise Guys in Ties, and I'm going to be taking you through a credit banking mastermind. So we're going to start with a little bit of training here in the beginning, and then we're going to finish up with an actual mastermind where we go over an individual case study. Credit banking as a strategy is rather large. There's so much to cover. Each and every week, we try to break it down into smaller bite-sized chunks. Last week, we really covered budget. Ray Fleming was on, and he went into great detail about budget and how to calculate the debt efficiency so that you know which debts to pay off first. It was a great training. He did a great job. But this week, we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're really going to focus in on the difference between loans and lines of credit. That is going to require us to do a lot of math. So for all of you people who are like, hey, I'm excited to do some math, well, you're in the right place tonight. Yay, math. We're going to do a lot of math tonight, folks. So let's talk about lines versus loans. As we're trying to put our treasure map together to find the lost American dream, we have to first start with a budget, and then we have to understand lines versus loans of credit. So let's just start with an example, and we go over this a lot. If you needed to borrow $10,000, would you rather pay 21% interest on that money, or would you rather pay 6% interest on the money? Pretty straightforward question. I mean, nobody was sick the day they taught math, right? So the most people would answer 6% interest, and all things being equal, you know, that would be the correct answer. However, the answer is it depends on how that interest is amortized. That's really what it comes down to, because you could amortize the 21 or the 6% in different ways, which would then make the final amount that you pay different. So here we are. We're working with the information that Ray went over last week when he discussed an average budget. The numbers that Ray pulled were from an average two-income American family, numbers that we pulled from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So the average two-income American family has about a $15,000 credit limit, but is carrying a $12,000 balance at 21% interest. And then over on the other side, let's see if I can stop my video just for a moment. Okay. Then the average two-income American family has a home mortgage. So they have a loan for that originated at $200,000, or that's how much is left. And they're making monthly payments at $1,200 a month. They also have an auto loan and two auto loans, I guess. the average car payment being $300 a month. So they're paying $600 a month and carrying about a $26,000 balance. And that home mortgage was at 6% interest. So, excuse me. Now that we kind of got our bearings, let's again go with another analogy, a comparison to try and illustrate a point. Fresh water at sea level freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 0 degrees Celsius. Do you agree with that? Those are equal, right? Okay, well, what if we change 0 degrees Celsius to 1 degree Celsius? Now, compare that to the 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Which temperature is hotter? Well, I mean, we just increased one, so the 1 degree Celsius is hotter. That should make sense. Now, what if we change both temperatures? Let's drop the 32 degrees Fahrenheit to 21 degrees Fahrenheit, but let's increase the 1 degree Celsius to 6 degrees Celsius. Now, which temperature is hotter? Well, it's even more extreme. Obviously, the 6 degrees Celsius is hotter. Now, what does temperature and interest rates and lines and loans, what does that have to do with anything? They all seem like apples and oranges. Well, here's the point we're trying to make. Why is the 21 less than the 6? It's because it's different scales. How the interest is to be repaid on a line of credit versus a loan determines how expensive or how hot the interest really is. All right. This is very critical, how hot that interest is. So let's go into this a little deeper. One of the ways that we have to look at how how something is amortized is how is it paid back. So with a loan, they're one directional. You borrow all the money all up front, and then you pay it back over time. In a revolving line of credit, you might have an available line that's given to you, but you only pay for what you use. So let's take a look at how that works. Let's look at a loan, a one-directional loan. What are we talking about? Let's go into that a little bit more. So there you are on the screen, that nice little stick figure guy, and over to the right is the bank. So you borrowed the money for the house, and now it's time for you to make your monthly payment. So you pay the money to the bank every month, but let's say one day you have some issue with the house and you need to make a repair. The water heater totally went out, and now you got to replace the water heater, and that's a lot of money. And so you call up the bank and you say, hey, look, I got to replace the water heater. I got this huge bill. Can I get back last month's payment and I'll make it up on the backside? Does money ever go the opposite way? Does the bank say, oh yeah, sure? No, it doesn't work that way. So when you have a loan that you have to keep paying, regardless of what expenses come up, you're responsible to make all the loan payments every month, and money only flows one way. All right? Pretty simple. I think we all understand that. But let's look at a line of credit, and let's see how the fact that it's revolving makes it different. So here you are again. Now you're on the other side. You still have to make your payments to the bank, right? This is just another bank product, a line of credit or a loan. These are just different bank products. So here's what happens. You've used your credit card or a line of credit, and you have a balance, and now it's time to make your payment. So you make your big payment, and then some money comes back to you. You make another payment next month, and some money comes back to you. Isn't that wonderful? Now you might be saying, wait a minute, Joseph, I've paid my credit card bill every month. I never saw any money come back to me. Well, that is true. No cash came back to you, but think about it in terms of a currency exchange. If you were going to another country and you took all your dollars with you, you would go to a bank and exchange it for the currency of that country. So when you pay your bill for your credit card, an exchange is happening. You're paying down your bill. And if you're using the credit banking strategy, you're paying a lot. You're putting like all your income. That's why the the dollar bills on your screen were so large, right? Because we're putting all of our income through the line of credit. We're overpaying in some respects, beyond the minimum balance. And so what does that do? That the money that's coming back to you isn't actual cash, but it's coming back to you in the form of available line of credit. So your cash, you can go out and buy stuff with your cash. Can you take available credit and go out and buy something with it? Sure. So there is a currency exchange. So if you pay $100, and for every $100, a dollar of that, let's say, goes towards your interest that's owed that month, then you're going to get $99 back to you in the form of available credit that you could use. Right? I mean, that's simple math, but we'll look in a little more, but that's the point that's trying to be made. I had a question, I believe, come in on the webinar chat. Hey, Brian Todd finally made it in. Great to have you in. And we will, we love all of our panelists, all of our participants. So we were talking about revolving line of credit. Let us move forward. And now we're going to be talking about, now we've talked about how the different payments occur. So 100% of all of your money goes to the bank when you make an amortized interest payment, 100%. So if your payment is $1,200 a month, your buying power of that $1,200 is gone. It's completely gone. It goes all to the bank. But if you have to make a $1,200 payment on your line of credit, only the amount that goes to the interest for that month, you know, calculate your APR, only the amount of interest is really what's lost. The rest comes back to you in available credit, which you can spend. So now we're looking at how the interest amortization in a loan, or how the interest is amortized in a loan versus how it's amortized in a line of credit. Okay, so let's look at the math on how a line of credit, how the interest on a line of credit. So simply, your monthly payment equals your principal balance times your interest rate as expressed in an APR. And you take that amount and you divide it by 12. So this is considered non-amortization. So we're going to talk about, so we were talking about amortization, but to have a robust discussion, let's explain, well, what does it mean when it's non-amortized? Means that an amortization is how the schedule of the repayments is to take place, and the interest is to be paid and the principal is to be paid. Non-amortized could be interest only. It could be a lot of things. It could be deferred payments till the end, and then one, boom, lump sum payment that includes principal and interest all in one payment. Or people could have it a bit not, maybe it's deferred for a little while, then there could be quarterly payments, semi-annual payments. So the way it's structured determines how it is amortized. So very simple formula helps us calculate how much principal and interest is going to be paid over a 12-month period of time. So what if you need to have a principal pay down in addition to just paying the interest? Well, now we've got to take the interest side of the formula and then put in whatever the principal pay down is. So in one example with one card that requires a 3.25% principal pay down every month, you have to take the total principal, multiply it by 3.25 to determine what that principal pay down amount is. And then you multiply that by the principal balance times the interest rate divided by 12, add that together, and that's going to be your monthly payment. So let's plug in the numbers from the previous budget we were looking at. You'll notice that our principal balance was $12,000 on the credit card at 21% interest. Also, we've got to pay down the $12,000 at least 3.25% according to this card. So as we do our math and we solve inside our brackets, first, we know we just went from the 12,000 times 3.25 means the principal pay down is $390 for this month, but we still have to solve for the interest. So the interest is going to be 2,520 divided by 12. So that's going to be, so we're going to pay $212 of interest, and we're going to pay down the principal by $390. So our total payment is going to be $600. So some people wonder, how do they figure what that minimum monthly payment is going to be? Well, now you know how we calculate it. So that's how you get to a $600 minimum monthly payment. So let's see, I had another question come in here on the webinar. We have Patty asking, do you record these? Can I view last week? Absolutely. All you have to do is go to the Wise Guys and Ties YouTube channel, and you can see a copy of all our past credit banking webinars and masterminds. Great question. All right. So if you look at this rate, we put here, it could take you 28 years or more to pay off your debt. I mean, why 28 years? I mean, seems like it would only take a few years. Well, it really depends. It could only take you a few years. It could take you 30 years or more. How do people use their credit? I mean, if you're going to pay down your credit, and if you're just going to make your minimum payments, you're only paying it down based off of this formula, $390 a month. But life happens. I mean, let's say it's going to take you, 2, 3, 4 years to pay that down, if nothing changes. But let me ask you, do things ever change over the next 4 years? Of course. And then you've got to use the card again. And then you start to make a little bit of progress, and then you got to use it again. Could be an emergency, could be a family vacation, whatever it is. I mean, we end up continuously getting into a cycle where if all we ever pay is the minimum monthly payment, it takes so many years to pay that off that we're inevitably going to have some shortage of cash or some opportunity to go spend more money that it never gets paid down. So I could put in any arbitrary number here, but I mean, mathematically, if you stop using the card, if you freeze the card, right, you could pay this down in a very short period of time. We just have to, calculate that out, whip out the handy dandy calculator. And if you're just making the minimum monthly payments, right, and you're paying, and it pays down 300, approximately $390, but I mean, that was based off of the $12,000 amount. So each month it'll be based off of a little bit less. Probably going to take you a little over 2 years to pay that down. So in the next 2 years, if you can manage to not have any other needs for your credit cards, you could bust that out, right? Now, the principal pay down amount changes for different cards. Some might have none. Some might have 1%. Some can have higher amounts. So again, you got to read the fine print on all your cards. Did we get another question that came in here? Just thank you. Okay. Oh my, we have the most Ray, we have the politest people.
We absolutely do.
You are so very welcome. Okay, now we looked at how lines of credit are amortized. Let's take a look at loan amortization. So let's just compare. So this was the formula just for the interest, and this was the principal and interest. So, okay, now let's compare that to loan amortization. Whoa, that is totally different. This formula is how we calculate the amortization of a loan. Oh my goodness. So let's try and read this left to right. Your amortized monthly payment is equal to your beginning principal balance times, let's take the numerator, your interest rate divided by 12, and then in your denominator, right, you have 1 minus the quantity in brackets here, 1 plus your interest rate divided by 12, to the negative nth power, which is your term as expressed in months. Whew, my goodness. Well, how in the world are people supposed to figure this stuff out? You got to read your fine print, and then you have to have your solar calculator and hope it's not a cloudy day, right? Okay, so let's let's go ahead and look at this. Okay, so we're going to plug in our numbers. So we're looking at the loan on the mortgage, right? So we started with a $200,000 loan amount, and that was at 6%. And that was for 30 years, but years expressed in months would be 360. So we have 200,000 times the quantity 0.06 divided by 12 divided by another quantity of 1 minus a quantity of 1 plus 0.06 divided by 12 to the negative 360th power. From all of this, we are going to calculate what our minimum mortgage payment is going to be. So let's plug it in. Oh, we got a question, a couple of questions coming in here. Perfect. Just got some housekeeping stuff being taken care of. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, let's start solving inside our bracket. So on the denominator, we have a bracket we need to solve for. 0.06 divided by 12 plus 1 equals 1.005. Now we need to take that quantity to the negative 360th power, as well as in our numerator, we got to take 0.06 and divide that by 12. So we're going to have 0.005 divided by 1 minus 0.166. So let's resolve that. And the denominator is now 0.834. Now we have to take 0.005 and divide that by 0.834 to get all the way to 0.006. And we multiply that by 200,000. And then we come up with our minimum monthly payment. So all of our payments, actually, not just one payment, but all 360 payments will be $1,200 a month just to pay down the principal and interest. Now, the actual amount that you'll pay probably right off the bat, depending on which loan program you did, how much money you put down, you might be paying mortgage interest. You might be paying HOA fees. You might also be having to pay for taxes and setting that aside in escrow. So, I mean, that $1,200 could end up, you actually are paying somewhere around $1,500 before it's all said and done. But that is how we calculate amortization. So here's an amortization schedule that, let's say we started the payments at the beginning of the year. And of course, that would just take, on this one, this takes us through the first 2 years. But again, this is a 3-year model. So let's line up, you know, all the 30 years. Whoa. So how much interest will be paid over the 30 years? Do you want to add up each column? Well, or we've got a formula. Total interest paid equals your monthly payment times your total number of payments, right? So we got to figure that quantity out and then subtract our original beginning principal. So it should be fairly simple. Let's plug in our numbers. Our monthly payment is $1,200 a month. We have to make 360 of those payments. So that means that we will pay $432,000 over the life of this loan. If we subtract out the original amount that we borrowed, we will see that we will pay $232,000 plus the original principal to borrow the $200,000. That's the total interest that'll be paid. So here we go. We got another chat coming in here. Do I have a spreadsheet? I have lots of spreadsheets. We'll cover that. Okay. Take a look at this. This is a graphical representation of all of those amortization payments that need to be paid. I think it's important to look at this because once you see, starting over here on the left, this would be from your first month all the way to the end, your 360th month. If you look, over 80% of your first payment is going to go towards paying the interest. Less than 20% of your very first payment is going to go towards paying your principal down. So what does that mean? It means that the interest is front loaded. So it means for the beginning part of this loan, most of your money is going towards interest. This is why these end up being very expensive. Now, if you take this whole model and you the mortgage intact and you make every payment over the course of 30 years, it'll work out to 6% per month. So it does work out, and it actually is 6%, but it's how you're paying this 6% back. Because in the beginning, more money is going towards the interest. Excuse me. But look at this wonderful point here. After 222 months, you finally begin to pay more towards the principal than you do the interest. So, I mean, look at where you're at. You're more than 20 years, you're like 21 years into paying down this mortgage. Folks, this is why this is expensive, because look at this little line I put down here, and it comes down here right at 60 months. 60 months, that's 5 years into your loan. 5 years into your loan, look at how much interest you're still paying. Still pretty high. You're right around 80% of every payment goes towards interest, and you're right around 20% of every payment going towards principal. So what happens at the 5-year mark? What happens to us Americans every 5-7 years? What do we do? Anybody got any ideas? It's like clockwork, right? Like the salmon returning back to the springs where they came from, right? What happens? We as Americans do what? Oh, I got one person coming in on the webinar saying they buy a car. That's true. Every 5-7 years, you got to buy a new car, because those dang things, they wear out. My goodness, that's true. When it comes to where we live, though, what do? Anything on YouTube? Anybody answering on YouTube? Sorry, I can't quite see you folks. Ray's looking, see if anybody's participating. What happened?
Poker paparazzi.
Poker paparazzi. He wins the gold Kewpie doll. We'll get that in the mail to you. Make sure you send in the appropriate contact information. Yeah, so refinance. Because the bank is looking at you and they're saying, you've done such a good job. Actually, they're looking at themselves and they're saying, man, if they keep going on like this, we're going to make less and less money every payment that they make. So we need them to refinance so that we can go back to making over 80% off of every payment. Refinance. The other thing that happens is people move, they sell their house, and they go buy a new one. And the bank likes that too, because it keeps you right in this nice little bubble. See this? This is where Americans live, in this little bubble of always paying high interest rates and building very little equity, right? So, I mean, if you are going to get a mortgage, and for it to make the most sense would be to stay in it, not refinance it, and pay it out over 30 years, and then you would only pay 6%. But as it is, you end up paying much higher interest rates, and then you refi and you start it all over again. But your consolation prize is maybe they were able to lower your payment from $1,200 a month to $1,000 a month. Oh, you got to feel good about that. I mean, you're going to spend the rest of your life and your children and your grandchildren's lives in financial servitude, but you saved yourself $200 a month. You know, you got to feel good about that. You know, find little victories where you can. This is it's a trap, folks. You've got to see it for what it is. Refinancing is a very short-term gain or a long-term loss. Or look at it from the bank's perspective. This is the best way for them to make money. So if you want to become a bank, it's a great business model. You can refinance all your loans over and over and over again every 5 years. Offer them a little bit of a reduction in their monthly payment, and through an interest rate decrease, make them feel like they're $1,000,000 by telling them they're a valued customer. And you know what? Tell them, hey, you know that your credit cards where you bought Taco Bell last week and maybe you bought a new washer and dryer, throw that in there. Let's amortize your Taco Bell over the next 30 years. Like, I mean, this is what people do. And they're, oh yeah, sure. And then they feel, hey, look, I'm debt free. No, you're actually shackled in prison. So this is the sad state of where we're at. But if you just follow this plan, after 5 years, take a look at this. You've paid $72,000. If you've made every payment, $1,200 a month, $1,200 a month, $1,200 a month, 5 years of that, 60 months, you've paid $72,000. Now, I'm rounding the numbers here. These aren't, nothing ends in perfect zeros, but you've paid over $13,000 of principal. Congratulations. You have paid down your $200,000 loan by $13,000 over 5 years. Now keep this in mind. Of the interest that's owed, right, over the 30 years, you've paid $59,000, right? Approximately $59,000 of interest. Look at that. That's of that 72,000, the bank kept for themselves $59,000 of interest, and they decreased your loan amount by $13,000. Guys, that hurts. There's a better way. You've got to use a credit banking strategy to change how this is amortized, because this is, unless you're going to live there for 30 years. But I mean, what percentage of Americans get a 30-year mortgage, live in the house for 30 years, and pay it off in 30 years? And it used to be the norm. And you might know somebody who's done that, but they've got a lot of snow on the top of their head, right? That just doesn't happen anymore these days. And if you are the person that did that, I mean, congratulations, you're the one. You're the unicorn. You're that 1%, less than 1% that did that. But the rest of us mere mortals, we're stuck in that bubble where we are going to never get out of debt. We are going to owe for the rest of our lives, and we're just going to keep paying every month. It's like being stuck in some kind of perverse Groundhog's Day, where all you do is give your money to the bank, and you watch all your wealth bleed away. No, there's a better way. And next week we're going to cover the actual strategy, of how we get out of that debt. But what we've done so far is we've broken down how to budget, how to live within a budget, how to identify excesses in our budget, any duplications, and eliminate that. And then we've also been able to look at areas where we can increase income within our budget. There's so many different strategies. And then by doing that, we maximize our cash flow. So we need cash flow. And then we look at our lines of credit and our loans, because we need to know which is the most expensive. Well, lines of credit are amortized very simply, and loans are not, basically. And so because of the different ways that they're amortized, in the short term, loans are very expensive, right? You have to hold those things for the 30-year term for it to be the actual interest rate that's quoted. Your lines of credit are ways in which, when we start doing the credit banking strategy, you're going to see we take a chunking method of like your lines become like these little piranhas, and they're chomping little bites of the loan, right? And then what happens is they've got to eat, digest, and then they go back and they go eating frenzy again. And you keep doing this, and this is what that represents is you push all of your income through your lines of credit, and then the lines of credit you take out, you load them up with your loan, take large chunks out of your loan, and then your income pays down the lines of credit, but you're also putting your expenses on your line of credit. You're banking through your lines of credit. That's why we call it credit banking. And the more you do that, the speed, it helps the speed at which you pay down your debt, which is why some people call it velocity banking, right? And then you can actually pay off a mortgage in 1/3 the time. A 30-year mortgage could be paid off in 10, 11 years. If you're starting this already into the mortgage, you could pay it off in 4, 5, 6, 7 years, right? This is what a lot of our clients do. So the credit banking strategy, very powerful. We're going to go over specifically step by step how it's applied, and we're going to look at how do you actually put your income through a line of credit to make that happen. But that's going to be next week's training. All right. Oh, no, we're not covering that part today, but this is the part where I want to break away from here, and this is where we're going to go into our mastermind.
How do you pick which line of credit to use?
Raymond asked, how do you pick which line of credit to use? Wonderful question. Great question. Because you do have to have a specific line. So if you have multiple credit cards, which credit card is the one that gives you the largest limit? Which one gives you the perks, right? You have some choices here, but if you have a credit card that's been issued to you, say fairly recently within the last year or so, and you have a 0% introductory rate, that's the best one to use right there. If you have a large line of credit, maybe a personal line of credit, a home equity line of credit, and you might be at 4, 5, 6, it could be because it's variable rate. So maybe you've had it for a while and now it's at 12%. Well, that's not necessarily too bad either, right? Because you can still take large chunks out of your debt at only 12% interest. I mean, when you consider that credit cards are your average credit card interest rates 21%, and a lot of people are paying higher than that because not a lot of people are average. And who wants to be average anyway? So your line of credit, you want it to have the most flexibility to be able to take on a lot of debt, because your lines of credit, you do have to be very careful of your utilization. If you go above 50% utilization, it'll bring down your credit. In fact, going over 30% utilization slows the amount your credit grows. Ideally, you want to be under 30%. I mean, 25% is what a lot of people target as right where you want to be on a line of credit. So if you have a credit card with a limit of $10,000, right, then you could pretty safely use $2,500 of that. But some people, their debt is so huge, massive, out of control, that just taking these tiny little bites is going to be pretty hard. So you have to weigh the consequences of what the impact to your credit score is versus the gain that you'll get from paying down your debt, which would lower your debt income ratio, which as you use a credit banking strategy, lowers your utilization over time. And so again, there's that's a long way to say it depends, and you've got to look at the benefits. And for each person has a different risk tolerance level. What are you the most comfortable with? What do you want to do? How aggressive do you want to be? And where do you want to go? And the line of credit that'll get you there, most people choose a large line of credit that they have or the lowest interest rate, so that it costs the least amount of money. So, and the more you use this line of credit, whichever line of credit you're using, it's the one that's going to grow on you like wildfire, because you're going to be using it the right way every month, and you're going to pay it down every, it's going to go through every year, 1 or 2 different cycles of you paying it down, which every 6 to 12 months you can get a credit limit increase or a rate reduction. So there's a lot of options for you there. Let's see what we got here. All right. We have from Brian Todd, yes, on HELOC, mine is a credit card that's at 8%, treats cash advance as a standard charge if you're doing this, wouldn't the concept to be not to worry about your credit at the time until you'd gained the cash flow? Okay, that's a great question. It's a fair question. If your debt's out of control and you're trying to manage it and how much you use of it, does that really matter? Well, yes and no. You can be implementing a credit banking strategy, and let's say you take this huge chunk out, and some people might be like, well, why don't we just max out the credit card and then I'll just pay it all down? But you got to be very careful, because if you're going to start banking through your line of credit has to be both your checking and your savings account. So there needs to be enough room in that line of credit for an emergency, right? You're going to be putting all of your income through it. So you've got to be very careful, because life, I mean, when we think mathematically about credit banking, it's very static. Your income's here, your expenses are here, you have this line of credit, and there's your debt, and then you just do everything. But you see, life isn't linear. We would like it to be, but a lot of times things go sideways on us, and unexpected illnesses come up, or a layoff at work unexpectedly happens. I mean, these things make our income be in flux, or sometimes make our expenses explode. So having the flexibility would be not using a full line of credit, but using no more than half, or even maybe less than half, so that you can weather the storms of life that come up. So Raymond Roscoe said, yes, just got a $15,000 card this week from Navy Federal. I was using a 6K card. Perfect. So if you're looking at that, you want to stay roughly, below using $4,500 of that $15,000 limit card, and you should be just fine, right in that area. Perfect. All right, folks, let's go over to today's. This is real numbers from somebody, one of our participants in the webinar. Our case study for today. We are on Credit Banking Mastermind number 11. Okay. Excuse me. So we have an income of $3,400 a month. We have expenses of $1,400 a month. So what is our cash flow, folks? Can anybody tell me? How much cash flow do we have? Did we get an answer? I got a couple here on the line. Yeah.
Ali Tesson says 2K.
Yes, a lot of you folks got that right. So we have $2,000 of cash flow. Perfect. Now we have an available credit limit of $9,500, but we're currently carrying a $1,400 balance. So what we need to calculate right now is our utilization. What is our utilization? How do you calculate that? Well, you take your balance and you divide it by your available credit limit. So what is our utilization? We're looking for full participation here, folks, not giving away any of the answers. All right, what is our utilization? What's it going to be? Come on, you got to beat me pulling out my calculator, right? I'm putting in 1,400 and I am dividing that by 9,500. Come on, who's got it? Yes, yes, good job. We had Brian Todd put in 14% utilization. I don't know how my calculator must have rounded up, because I got 15%. So
14.7.
yeah, 14.7. Okay. So I round because I'm a round person. Okay. So we have the credit card interest rates at 21%. Now let's see here. He wants to pay off $21,000 loan amount, 21,000 at 30 years. That's interesting. The interest rate is at 5% and payments $100. So what's the situation? I make $3,400 a month based off of 40 hours, but I can make more. I have 3 credit cards. I also have student loan debt of $21,638.41 and a car loan of $6,896.93. I would like to be able to pay off my credit cards and car loan this year and tackle as much of the student loan debt. Interesting. So if I understand him correctly, he wants to, we've got credit card debt of 1,400. He wants to pay that off. He wants to pay off the car, which is $6,896.93. And then the student loan he wants to pay off, which is $21,638.41. Well, let's everybody, you can see the same numbers now that I see. Let me see if I can fit it all on this one screen. There we go. Okay, so we're dealing with this income. We could potentially, apparently, we can increase it or work more hours or get overtime or something. So we could potentially increase this cash flow. I don't know by how much. We're only at 15% utilization right now of the line of credit, and these are his goals. Any thoughts? Let's see here. What is the car payment for? Okay, you know what? That's a great question. We're missing some information. Whenever I only have partial information, I make up the rest. I mean, don't you? Okay, so if you have a mortgage calculator or you have a mortgage calculator app, I don't know if this is showing up on your screen, but here, what would happen if I stop sharing just for one moment? Okay, if you can see my screen. Oh, of course, I always, my fat fingers touch something. This is a mortgage calculator, all right? I don't have time to teach you how to use this today, but this is how I can make some educated guesses and figure out maybe how much the car payment is. Well, I mean, not the payment, but let's figure some stuff out. So let's go back to our share. Okay, so we're dealing with a car loan here of $6,896.93. Okay, so if I go into my handy dandy calculator here, I'm going to put in, that's the current balance. So 6,896.93. All right, so I put that into my principal balance. I'm going to make an educated guess that the average car payment is $300. Maybe his is less, but you know, we got to work with something since I don't have it. So our monthly payment is $300. I don't have an interest rate. Well, we're going to go off of an interest rate that I'm going to pick out of thin air and say 5%. Now, these numbers are totally off and wrong, but it helps us to understand. And I think these numbers are a little bit high, so I'm being conservative because he might have a lower interest rate and a lower monthly payment. But based off of that, it would show that he's got about 2 years left on that auto payment. So let's see, we had a couple of questions come in on the webinar, and I have here all right, I'm making Brian pull out his credit, his mortgage calculator. Good. You should, you know, you're a very well-educated man, and you should be using the tools of a well-educated man. All right. So what I'm saying here on the auto payment is that it's the payment is we're guessing conservatively $300 per month, and that's at 5% interest, and that means based off of the amount that he has left to pay, there is 24 months left to go. Okay. We have all the information we have is on the student loan, right? So we know that the payment is $100 a month. Now, when I put that into this into my mortgage calculator, because I was looking at this a little bit earlier, my calculator comes up with $117 a month. So I don't know if he rounded down, but he said $100, so we'll go with $100. But that's at 5% interest, right? And that started. So I mean, he's got about, according to his information, 29 years left to go on that. And then his credit card payment. We know his expenses are $1,400 a month, which is phenomenal, right? Maybe this is a single gal or a single guy. Don't know, but $1,400 in expenses. I don't know that we can beat that. Doesn't look like there's much there to cut back on. So how much of that is going towards the credit card payment? I don't really know. But so we got to knock all this out. Where do we start, folks? What are your thoughts? All right, we've done a lot of analysis here. Oh, somebody, you might want to also look at let's calculate. I don't know what the minimum payment is on that. I mean, if we go into figuring out principal, right, and we multiply that, and let's say, yeah, he says is at 21% interest, right, and then we divide that by 12, and if there is some kind of principal paid down, let's say the credit card payment, just here I'm going to err on the side. I'm going to be wild here and say that it's 35. Sorry. Payment is I'm going to be conservative, $35 a month on the $1,400 at 21% interest. Okay, so there you have it, folks. We should be able to calculate the efficiency of the debt, right? So if I take $35 and I divide that by the debt of $1,400, I come up with, I'm rounding, my debt efficiency, right, equals 0.03. All right. So we're looking at debt efficiency. Let's take a look at the car payment. So I pay $300 a month. I divide that by $6,896.93. What's the debt efficiency on that? Anybody doing the math? Or am I just the only one having fun here? I don't want to be the only one having fun here, folks. Come on now. Work with me. Help a man out here. What's our debt efficiency? And while we're calculating it, let's do the debt efficiency for the last debt as well. Where are we at? What is the debt efficiency? All right, all you do is you take your payment and you divide it by your current loan amount. All right, let's see what it is on the car. We have 0.043. So I'm gonna, of course, round that to 0.4. Good job, Todd. All right. And then we're taking $100 and we're dividing that. I mean, that's kind of pretty simple, right? By 21,638. You could do this in your head. I don't know why I'm typing it in my calculator, right? What is it, folks? Come on. 100 divided by 21,638.41. Yeah. There you go. Good job, Brian. Okay. We have now calculated all of our debt efficiency. So given all of the information that is on your screen, we should be able to get some recommendations from all of you out there in this mastermind. What should we do? I mean, I think this is kind of a good situation. We've got cash flow. We have low utilization. And I mean, we've got some debt here, but it's manageable. I think I think we can do something here. What are your ideas? What should we do? Anyone?
Credit card first. Raymond and Tesson say credit cards first.
All right. So we had some people say wipe out the credit cards first and then go after the car and then the student loan. Who'd that come from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who said that?
Raymond and Tesson.
Raymond and Tesson. You know, so we have Raymond and Tesson voting to do that. Here we have from our webinar, we have Brian, who's saying he would wipe out the car debt first and get the $300 cash flow. Then he would go after the student loan. Okay. All right. So who's right and who's wrong so we can embarrass them on a live webinar? There really isn't a right or wrong to this, folks. If you want to let debt efficiency be your guide, you have to take care, you have to pay off the highest debt efficiency first. Your lowest number is your most efficient number. So right now, the most inefficient debt that we see here is the car. Then the next most inefficient debt we see here is the credit card. Now, I kind of like Brian's idea. Not that I didn't like taking care of the credit cards first, because Brian's idea really does both at the same time, if you think about it, because if we're using a credit banking strategy, right, we're going to end up paying off the credit card balance in the process. That's woven into the strategy. So if we're just trying to wipe out that car, we will in the process wipe out the credit card debt at the same time. We'll be working on those simultaneously. So if we wipe out the auto loan debt, we will find that we will also wipe out the credit card debt. That'll happen at the same time. And by freeing up the auto loan, there's $300 more a month that can now go into the cash flow. And then we can bust out that student loan debt, because that is your most efficient debt, though. That is a pretty low number. So those are great options. So how long would it take to do that? Well, you know, very simply, if you know what your cash flow is, you can figure this out. So if we have $2,000 in cash flow a month, how long is it going to take us to pay off $6,896.93? So you get out your handy dandy calculator, put in $6,896.93. You divide that by your $2,000 of cash flow, and what do you get? You get a number, but what does that number mean? Right? You get 3.45, but I don't like that number. I got to round. Oh, and I see that Brian likes to round too. See, rounding is good. Okay, so what does that mean? That's how many months it's going to take, because how many months? It would take you 3.45 months, but we don't live in a world where we deal with things in 3.45 months. So what does that mean? It's going to take you 4 months to pay off the entire auto loan, which then frees up another $300 of cash flow. So now we're going to be working with $2,300 of cash flow. All right. So in that in that period of time, we're also paying down this credit card. So excuse me. Patty says, is the payments already figured into the expenses? Yes, the credit card payment and the car payment, I'm guessing, should be considered part of these expenses. They would have to be. Otherwise, then then the numbers don't make sense. But I think that's a good question. So as our expenses come down, that's why we would see the increase in our cash flow. So it's, I mean, I usually like to pull out a Roger that. I love it, Patty. You keep up those great questions. I think you're out in Alaska too. So thanks for being up with us. All right. So we are working on paying off this debt, but I mean, this debt is very manageable. With $2,000 cash flow, we have this paid off in no time. Oh, Patty's not in Alaska. She moved to Texas. Okay. Or either that, or I don't know where I'm at today. All right. Well, we love the Lone Star State. Okay, so $6,896.93 is going to be paid off in 4 months. So what's next? We have $1,400. Let's say the credit card is still not paid off, but it would be. But let's say it's not. Well, we tack on another month, right? It's already paid off. So in 4 to 5 months, you've eliminated, over $8,000 of debt, just like that. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. And then you've got the student loan debt. Oh, the student loans. Yeah, we got to get rid of that. It is the debt that never goes away and stays with you for an eternity. But how long would it take us to pay off? Well, let's imagine that we decreased our expenses by $335 a month, which means we increased our cash flow. So if I take $21,638.41, which is the balance of the student loans, and I divide that by $2,335, how many months is it going to take me to get out of debt? All right, I did it on my calculator, and the way I did it was I pushed the buttons. You got to do that too, okay? And so you take you take your $21,638.41. That's your student loan debt, and then you divide that by your cash flow, your new cash flow, right? When it's all said and done, let's put a new cash flow amount up here. We're talking about $2,335, a month. It's a beautiful thing. All right. We have Brian Todd, who's learning how to round. Yes. And he says 9.3 or 10. I'm going with 10. because I don't ever have 9.3 of a month. Okay, so 10 months. So four months to completely wipe out your auto loan and your credit card debt, and then another 10 months and you're completely out of student loan debt. 14 months. Man, I mean, in 14 months, they should open everything back up again and you can go outside your house. That's gonna be great, right? So this is a very, very easy, I think, way to look at um, credit banking as a strategy, right? You can see it's very quick, which is why some people call it velocity banking. The speed at which you pay down your debt. It increases as you pay. So we paid off the car loan, and then we paid off the credit card. So then we had more cash flow, which increased the speed at which we paid down the student loan debt. If we had started with the student loan debt at just 2,000, it might have taken us a whole 11 or 12 months to pay off. So we saved ourselves some time. It got faster. But here's what I don't want to leave you just here at this. I mean, this is good stuff, folks. This is great stuff. But why do we do this? Right? Well, at this point, you're out of debt. Your debt to income ratio is like 0. I mean, this is awesome. Your utilization's like 0. And you have a whole track record of payment history of aggressively paying down this debt. Let's not lose the momentum. It's time to go, buy a house, duplex, triplex, a quad, whatever you can qualify for. But we got to take this income. You've got verifiable income, got low expenses. Your credit line over 14 months, I got to believe that this credit limit's going to go up to at least 12,000, at least, maybe even 15. I mean, if you're doing everything the right way, your credit lines are going to increase. But why get a house or a quad? I mean, a duplex, triplex, or quad is, why not have somebody else make the mortgage payments for you? And that's great. But you could buy a house, and then your goal is to utilize your strategy, your credit banking strategy, and eliminate mortgage as quickly as possible. And then you don't even have to completely eliminate it. Once you've eliminated enough debt so that you have at least 40% or more equity in the home, you can then apply for a first position home equity line of credit. And that's some fun stuff. So then you can start using advanced credit banking strategies. But if you don't want to go that route, some people are like, I'm not going to buy a house. I'm not a house guy, or I'm not going to buy a duplex. I don't want any of that. Well, then my advice to you, if you're not going to go that route, is start a business. Start a business, create another stream of income, grow your lines of credit, get access to new lines of credit, double or even triple your available credit. And then as you grow your business, create new streams of income, maybe through a referral business. I do real estate investing, but we have lots of clients that do whatever they feel God put them on this earth to do. I mean, whatever. I mean, you might be like, I don't want to be in business. I don't know how to start a business or what I would do with the business. You need to be in the business of providing yourself economic security, right? Now, there's only so much that you can control, but do you want to trust and rely on a 401k at your job? How volatile is that? What's your 401k worth today, folks? No, you need to create a business that you directly control how you invest your money. And if you know how the stock market works and you're great at it, then do it. Be passionate. You now have a business that you can do that with. Or if you know how to trade currency or you want to invest in gold or whatever it is. I personally think that every investor should have as a part of their portfolio real estate. Real estate is it's just so it works so well, and it's a great place to store up wealth because right now there's a lot of volatility in the markets, but the housing market is stable. It lags behind the day-to-day market that we see, but you're able to if you can ride out any storm, financial storm. What do you have when you have real estate is you still have a place to live, right? Or a place to hide from nasty viruses, to quarantine yourself. But in all seriousness, folks, um, you need to be looking at way. I mean, this is a great example of somebody that could instantly benefit in the next 14 months and be completely debt free. But if you don't have a if your whole goal in life is to get back to zero, because he's in the red here, and he gets back to zero, or she gets back to zero, and you have no plan to create any wealth, what's going to happen? You're going to slip right back into the same hole, and maybe you'll go deeper this time, and it'll be harder to get out the next time. So don't just set your sights at zero, because getting back to zero is nothing, right? We need to be setting our trajectory for where we want to be. And sometimes where we want to be it is a decision that you have to make with your loved ones. What legacy do you want to leave behind? Why are you here? What's your purpose in life? You got to ask some really deep questions. And I'm excited for the journey that you're on. I mean, some of these numbers you're looking at tonight, they might not represent your numbers. Your numbers might be devastating. They might be totally different than this. That's okay. The principle still remains the same. And you might be somebody who's like, when we look at this, you might be, I don't even have positive cash flow. I'm negative cash flow. Well, we've got to work with that, and there's options. There's different things you can do. And so, folks, I want to really thank you for having me on tonight. I want to, before we sign off, does anybody got anything they want to share? Some thoughts, a question? Because this is for you. We love what we do, and we want to help all of you folks succeed. My business partner Ray Fleming and I, we've been blessed. We consider ourselves richly blessed and highly favored, and we have been stuck in the mires of debt, no way out, no hope, and we've gotten educated. And we've learned strategies that have fundamentally changed our lives. We've started businesses that control millions of dollars of real estate. We have cash flow, multiple streams of cash flow coming in from our various different businesses. We are very blessed. And is that going to happen for you overnight? No, it didn't happen for us overnight either. But if you have a dream, you have a goal, you have a purpose, whatever that is for you, maybe you got to you wanted to start a trucking company. Maybe you have a hair salon you want to start, or there was this idea for a restaurant that you had one day. Whatever it is, whatever your passion is, whatever you're meant to do it. Utilize this strategy and make it happen. All right. So with that, I want to thank all of our folks that were on the webinar here today. I want to thank Brian and Patty, Will. I want to thank you so much for being here. We've had just such a great time on YouTube. Give a shout out to our folks down there on YouTube. Tessin, excuse me. Thank you to Tessin. Raymond, guys, this is for you. CJ Wallace, thanks again for providing a wonderful opportunity to bring this information to your folks. Hey, if anybody wants to work with CJ Wallace, you go to creditwiz at investorpro.org. All right. Man, Patty, you're doing great. You're about ready to close on your home in 2 weeks, and you're already planning ahead. You're going to have that whole thing paid off in less than 10 years, I hope.
Or poker paparazzi. He's always on.
Poker paparazzi. We love that guy or gal. I don't.
That's a guy.
It's a guy. All right. No offense. All right, folks. Hey, you want to participate in future masterminds with us, or you want to work one-on-one? Go to Wise Guys and Ties /credit-banking, right? And you can participate in our Tuesday night webinars.
Asking, do you think it'll be harder to get lines of credit?
So the folks that are in the webinar, they work directly with me. We're interacting because in the webinar, I get to see all of your responses live, and I'm working with you. For those of you on YouTube, I want to encourage you. You can keep watching. We're going to be here every Tuesday night. But if you want to get over on the webinar side, go to wiseguysandties.com /credit-banking. And then just put in your first name, your email address, your phone number, check mark the 4 boxes, and you'll be able to get a link. Also, if you want to be a part of a future case study, put in your information. Or if you want to work with us one-on-one and sign up for a 30-minute consultation, you'll need to fill that out as well. So you said we had a question on YouTube before we go?
Little cousin said, do you think it'll be harder to get lines of credit now?
Oh, do I think it'll be harder to get lines of credit now with everything that's going on in the market? Well, folks, last time we saw something of this magnitude happening in our country was like right around like 9/11, and the liquidity dried up for a short period of time. I would imagine something very similar is to happen. So lines of credit, yeah, they could be frozen, they can be stopped, all those things. We got to prepare for it. You need to be able to always have the ability to have some of your wealth in some assets, some of it liquid, and some of it in credit. I mean, I'm not saying anything new that you probably haven't heard on a dozen other YouTube channels, but what you have to realize, folks, no matter what, don't worry, don't panic. Let not your heart be troubled. This too is going to pass. This isn't going to last forever. I mean, it could be a few weeks or whatever, but I guarantee you that the reaction to this is worse than the reality. And I'm not saying that there's nothing here. I mean, we definitely need to be vigilant whenever new things happen, and we got to make sure we take care of ourselves. But folks, life is about risk. We've all accepted a certain amount of risk in our life. We know that people die in automobile accidents every day, yet we still get in a car, right? People die of different things all the time, and it can be scary, especially when we don't know or what's going to happen. Are we not going to go to, visit someplace because there might be an earthquake or a tornado or a hurricane? No, we still go. We accept that there's a certain amount of risk to life. In business, there's a certain amount of risk. Using a credit banking strategy, there's a certain amount of risk to life. Folks, don't be afraid of it. Don't run away from life. Live life to the full. I'm a Christian, and I believe that we were all meant to experience life to the full. And this is part of living a full life. So let's not be troubled by this. Let's just say, okay, we got this. This is what's happening. But realize that it's going to pass. And then you know what? There's going to be something else, right? We'll get past this, and then all of a sudden we'll be scared about some asteroid, right? Or then there'll be some volcano. Or, I mean, it's always something. Just live your life, figure out what you were meant to do, and let us here at Wise Guys and Ties help you do what you were put here to do. Give us a call at 888-524-9273. Let us work with you. Let us help you. Or, email us at bizcredit@wiseguysandties.com. Would love to continue the conversation there. To set up the consultation, go to our website at wiseguysandties.com. I want to thank you so much. Have a good night, and God bless.